Hello everyone. Gonna do some sharpening today because it's a lovely day and that sounded fun, and I figured I'd do it live because it's been a while since we've had a live stream in the group. So I'm just gonna sharpen some stuff. You guys ask questions. We'll see how long this goes. Might just be one knife, might be a few knives, but we'll have some fun. So first up, we got a box. This came in a couple weeks ago. Been not sharpening a ton lately, but now I'm getting back on it now. So let's see what we got. It's always interesting to see how people wrap stuff. This one looks like it's done fairly well without a bunch of headache. Okay, so this one is a shaman, and Ulid wants it checked out, see what I can do with it, just kind of clean it up. But right now we'll just do sharpening on it. See what kind of shaman we got. So I take my stuff. I only open one box at a time when I sharpen. I don't like getting stuff mixed up. So this I set to the side up here. I like to reuse as much of people's wrapping as I can, so save that. Okay, we got just a normal PJ shaman, looks like. Yep, just normal shaman. S30V. Should be fun little sharpening. It looks like it's got the factory edge still. And so when we sharpen Spyderco's, first thing I do, so this is my TS Prof Cadet with the center clamp. Let's loosen the clamp up a little bit. I'm going to take a piece of chamois cloth. This one's been used a million times. That's why it's so dirty. But this wraps on the spine of the knife like that. And then this one's been cut to the perfect size for a Spyderco. I'm going to put that in the clamp. We're going to loosely tighten it down where about even front and back. Then we're going to take, with my stones I use Hapstone Premium CBN stones. I start with a 150. 150 will reprofile just about anything. I have an 80. They go lower. I don't need lower than 150. So this is where I start. But let's give it a moment before I get into this and see what's joining us. Oh, what up, Paul? Got nothing better to do than watch this? Okay, that's cool. So let's get this mounted up. So most stones, this stone is called an Edge Pro form factor. It's a 6-inch by 1-inch stone. This is started on the Edge Pro. It was been around for a lot longer than most systems, but it's got these little lips on it. These are great stones. They're universal that work in most holders, but they just clip into these little slots right here. I have mine pretty tightly adjusted. So we're doing a Spyderco. So the cool thing about sharpening Spydercos is I know what angle the edge is going to be. It's going to be 17 degrees because that's what they all are. But anyway, before we do that, assume we're going to put some marker on the edge. Oh, I have to line it up. And since it's still loosely in there, we're going to rotate it. Rotate how it's clamped so that the flat grind line right here is parallel with the stone. So that's how we get the heel. So we want to be completely parallel. So this edge is parallel with that flat grind line. Tighten it up. This clamp, the center clamp with the chamois cloth, does a very good job of centering the blade vertically. I don't know exactly the physics behind it, but it just works. It's repeatable. If I sharpen something once and profile it, I can put it back in and it will sit exactly the same position again. So my sharpener's already kind of set it for Spyderco, so it's probably close to 17 degrees, but we're going to recheck it with my angle cube. So zero it out. You zero it on the rod. Then you're going to put it on the arm, and it's at 16.25, so we're going to drop it a little bit to 17 degrees. And then we're going to check the edge and see how close we are to that. So using a stone, this angle is a little bit too low on this side. It's hitting on the top edge of the bevel. So when you're on the top edge of the bevel, it means you're too low. But we flip on their side, I almost bet you were too high. And I bet it's going to be in the middle, because that's the way a lot of Spydercos are, is they're not symmetrical. They're about 17 degrees on each side. But so this side this is pretty typical. This side we're a little bit too high of an angle, and their side we're about too low. So we're just going to stick with 17 degrees. Make sure it looks all clamped right to make sure it's centered. Looks good. Okay, now we're going to start sharpening. First thing I do is I usually start on the presentation side. It's just my methodology of keeping track of where I am. So if I start on this side, I know when I'm done. I can unscrew it and it'll be done. So we're just going to start sharpening lightly with a 150 grit. We'll scoot this up a little bit. And as quickly, it's finding the angle pretty quick. So we're going to wipe all the marker off. Before we do the heel, I like to do the front of the edge. Get it all nice and profiled. This is going really quick. Usually the tip on the presentation side is the hardest spot to get all the way profiled out. Just the way that they sharpen them is usually takes a little bit of extra work. When you're doing tips, you don't want to roll off the edge. That's how you make a blunted tip. So one way I do it when I'm working on a tip a lot is I'll put my finger underneath it, the edge, just to make sure the stone doesn't roll. This one needs a bit of profiling, so we're going to do that on this. And we're looking pretty good. So we're getting the tip profiled right now. It's about there. So this at this point is just for aesthetics, to make sure that edge looks nice and symmetrical when it's done. The leading edge where it's getting sharpened is already being hit, but now we're trying to do all the way back up the bevel. So we're trying to get the top of the bevel. I'll adjust my camera up a little bit more so it's easier to see. So we're trying just to make the bevel go all the way even to the top edge. This is very common on the presentation side of Spydercos on the tip. It's just something that always happens. There we go. It looks pretty good. It's not quite there, but we'll finish it off later. So now we're just going to work the edge a little bit, trying to make sure all the Sharpies are getting hit, make sure everything looks nice and even. Okay, and once our edge is looking pretty decent, then I tackle the heel. So because our stone is parallel to the grind line, we can basically on Spydercos just shove it right up against here. And lightly, I do a couple vertical strokes like this against the heel, and then a couple fading strokes to work it back into the rest of the body. And with this 150 CBN stone, it usually doesn't take much work. One thing I should check is make sure the stop collar stops before the stone gets to the edge. So Usually this being set right here works for most knives, but just make sure when you're sharpening that you use a stop collar, because it's how you get scratches at the face of your blade if you don't. So right now we're good. And then we have a bump stop with a spring on it. The back edge, it just keeps me from pulling over the edge completely. And it's a little bit too close to use the whole stone. So let's just back it off for fun. Okay. Gives a little more real estate to work with. Now we're just going to work the back heel, watching it carefully. Just doing a few strokes, and a few leading strokes, and then checking it. I usually like to do the heel in 2 stops, so it's basically gone. That was pretty easy with a S30V. So that's enough of this side. Now we're going to check this side with our fingernail. So with our fingernail, we're going to check for a burr, and it's very, you don't want a big burr if you don't have to, but when you pull your fingernail off it, it should make a little tick noise. That means the steel has curled over the edge and created a burr. You want to check the whole edge to make sure it is get a burr. So on this side, it was too low of an angle, so we are going to do the same thing, but we're working the opposite direction. We're trying to lower the angle because it's at a high angle now. It shouldn't take too long. But this, when you're at the higher angle, you have to make sure you really, when you're trying to lower it, you have to make sure you get the whole edge, all the Sharpie off, and then check for a burr, because when you're at too low of an angle, you're already sharpening that leading edge. But when you're at too high of an angle to start with, you're not sharpening until you hit that apex. So first thing we're doing is just removing all the Sharpie. It's coming off, it's pretty much there already. Now we're going to do the heel a little bit. Doing the heel some more. Whoop, bouncing. Okay, looks like we're basically got the heel already squared up pretty quick. Do a few more strokes on it. I don't like to finish it off in the first pass. I like to kind of go back and forth to make sure it stays symmetrical. So all the Sharpie's gone, and we're going to flip it. See if we got a burr, which we do. Got a burr all the way up. Cool. Now we're going to do this side one more time. So this side, we know that we're already sharpening at the right angle. We're hitting the apex from the first time because we had the burr. So now we're sharpening off the burr from the other side. And just making sure everything looks nice and symmetrical, nice and even. Tip needs a little bit more work to get it all the way worked back. It's pretty good. And we want to do the minimal amount of removal as possible, so we're not going to do too much on this side. So we're going to do the heel a little bit more. Looks pretty damn good. And let's do one more pass, and we'll call it good. Okay, one more flip. We know we had a burr from the first time, so we should be creating it, hitting the apex already. Now we're just evening everything out, making sure it looks nice, lining the scratches. This is how I do my strokes. Always kind of going towards the tip. working little sections, and then moving forward. Let's do one more pass. Okay, so now we're done with the 150 stone. So just double check, got a burr, we're all good. Now we're gonna jump up to the 400 stone. I really like this progression. It's the set that Hapstone sells from their website. Just the steps that it goes through, they're pretty big jumps in grit, but it works really well. So this was 150 to this is a 400, and the 400 feels really smooth. It's very not aggressive feeling at all, but it works fantastic. And honestly, with just the 150 and the 400, if you sharpen this, and that's all you wanted to buy is 2 stones, you could totally do that. And you get killer edges with it. So now we're just polishing the bevel a little bit and reducing the burr size with the 400 grit stone from the 150. And typically I just do one good pass per side once I get past the 150. And it seems to work out pretty well. Less is more when you sharpen. So basically all you want to do is you're getting rid of the scratch pattern from the 150 stone. And you just kind of look at the edge and see it, the shine, look for any big scratches or anything crazy that's going to be obvious. Your heel will need the most work. It just always does. They just always have the most scratches to take out. Let's do one more pass. Let's take a look at it in the light. And we have a nice satin edge with no big crazy scratches, nice and even looking. The tip a little bit more. Okay, flip. Oh, we got people in the comments. My Saturday is pretty good, Jordan. I just got some pizza, and it's like perfect outside. It's September day. It's warm, but not too hot. And I got sharpening. I got my kids in the other room that are behaving. So it's all good. Yeah, dude. 150 and 400. That's all you need, really. I do up to 800 just because it's easier to kill the burr than with the strop. But if you want a really good edge at cutting paper, just the 150 and the 400 is all you need. Uh-oh, we have a visitor. Hi, Kinsley. Hey, babe. Got my baby girl in here. She's getting some toys, apparently. Okay, we're just doing a light, quick pass with the 400 grit. It really does not take very much work at all. That's all we need. And we still have a burr that's flipped on their side. It's nice looking satin edge. It looks basically like the satin from the factory. So if you want one that matches factory, that's all you need is to go to his 400.
Oh, let's wash your hands. Your hands are very dirty.
Hey, Kim, can you shut the door?
Yes.
Now we're just going to remove the burr with the 800 grit stone. Only clamping was a little wonky for me. Use a straight line from heel to tip trick, and it's fine now. So that's the normal way to sharpen most knives, and it works pretty well on Spyderco's, but not completely right. So on a normal knife, not normal, another kind of knife, you take a line from here to here, heel to hip, and you want to be parallel to the jaws. Problem is on the Spyderco, if you want to get the heel, it doesn't work. So if you do it parallel, it's like a little bit too far this way, and you'll eat up the ricasso. So in Spyderco's, I clamp differently. It's just a little bit off from heel to hip, but it honestly doesn't make any difference. It's just the way to get the heel correctly. So now we're going to do 800. And this fella didn't specify what kind of edge he wanted, so I'm just going to do the satin edge for now. And 800 we're just going to do very briefly. 800 is just removing the burr, giving a little bit of shine. We don't want to remove the aggression of the edge too much, so I like to keep it just a quick pass or two. That's all we're doing. One more pass, and we'll call it good. Okay, that's all we're doing to sharpen this knife. So we're going to take it out of the clamp. Now we're going to take a paddle strap with 3 micron gunny juice on it. And so I label my strops. So this is my go-to emulsion for a satin edge is 3 microns. I don't know if that's the right answer or not, but it works really well for me. So we're going to take the tip, find the angle by pushing. I mean, once you get used to it, like it's pretty easy to find it. But pushing into the leather until it sticks by raising the angle, that will find your edge. So once you find it, though, you can just feel it. And once you've done a bunch of Spyderco's, you kind of just know where to hold your hand. But really what we're doing is just kind of polishing the bevel, but making sure that the burr is removed completely that was left from the 800 stone. This is how you get a mirror edge, though, is if you go up a little bit higher in grit, is the strop. Strop is the secret to a mirror edge. And then go the other way. And so you can see it's left a smudge here. That's because there's a burr on that part of the edge that it's trying to remove and straighten out. So when you get some spots, you can feel the burr coming off, and you can see it in the diamond emulsion. So I'm using gunny juice. It's my go-to product, and really Scott makes a ton of them. I only use a few. I have them all, but if you just wanted to buy 2, I'd buy 3 micron and 0.5 micron, and you can do mirror edges really great. So now we're done. We're going to take some magic eraser, and we're just going to get off any of the marker that's left from on the top of the bevel from marking it. So a magic eraser is great for removing Sharpie. And cleaning up the blade. So that's an 800 grit edge with a very clean heel. So the heel just goes right into the ricasso. No taper off. It's just really nice. Then the most important thing when you're done sharpening a knife, take a piece of notebook paper or printer paper and just run through pull strokes, pull the edge, make sure it's just slicing nice and smooth. You can feel how sharp it is once you done this enough times, like you can feel the difference and hear the difference too. But you're making sure there's no snags or little divots in the blade. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes there'll just be a little bit of a snag or part of the burr you missed taken off. But this is done. So that's all it takes to sharpen a knife. It's really not that hard. And this fella was asking about cleaning up any rust spots. He's got a few on here, kind of. Really can't see him much. I'm gonna take a rusty eraser. Rusty eraser. And we're actually gonna use it on rust. I don't normally use it on rust. I use it for other stuff, but he just asked for a cleanup, so we're just trying to take off a couple little spots of rust he has. I don't really see much on here. It looks pretty good. And then take our magic eraser. Just clean the face of the blade up. Using Gunny Glow. I'm going to spray the blade down. Hit it with a magic eraser a little bit more. Clean off anything else, any dirt. I like to send stuff back looking better than it came to me. So I always give knives a thorough cleaning before they go back. I also don't want to leave something I created on there like marker, because it can be a pain to get off if you don't have the right stuff. Last step, chamois cloth, which is made of sheepskin leather. It's very good at leaving a lint-free, oil-free, streak-free finish on blades. And we're money. That's done. Knife one done. Okay. Put it back in the box. Okay, let's see what else we have. Next package. It's from, okay. This is my package opening native. I leave it on my desk. This is the knife I probably use the most in my house, because I open all these knife packages with it. Okay, we got a, let's see what this is. Hopefully something that's not too difficult. How do we open this up? Interesting packaging. Oh, okay. I think it's for eyeglasses. Perfect. We have another shaman. So, same thing. Let's go run through this quick this time, though. So we have a Z-wear. It's missing a pivot screw. So it's unfortunate, but I didn't see it in the package. I'm sure he's aware of that. But I would replace it, but I don't have any shaman screws, because shaman pivot screws are longer than other knife pivot screws, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd just give him one. But if you are looking for hardware, you can get it on knivesplus.com. And it's very close to factory. It's fantastic hardware. So this is another factory edge. This one got some nicks in it, though. So we have some chips we're going to take out. chip here, chip there. So that's how I find chips. It's just my fingernail. This edge it's not horrible, but it's definitely got some. It's going to take a little bit of work to get those out. But with a normal sharpen on a factory edge, that's going to come out pretty much anyway. So line up the heel. Get our marker. And it should be pretty much the same since it was just a shaman, but we're going to check it anyway. This is set to 17. 17. Marker our edge. And let's sharpen. So this side is pretty much dead on 17. The other side's a little bit lower. I do enjoy getting chips out. People always seem to be concerned when they send me stuff that they're embarrassed that it's chips or whatever, or concerned. But these are little chips. These come out so easy, and it's kind of satisfying. I enjoy it. So the tip is not quite up to my standard, so we're gonna work the tip a little bit. Point it out a little bit. Put it back in the frame a little bit better. So this is how you do a tip. I work perpendicular to the edge like this, and then do forward sweeping strokes as well. There we go. Now we have a nice looking tip. We got these little chips right here. Towards the front third of the knife, we have two chips. We don't want to spend too much time in any one spot. We want to kind of move through the edge so we don't screw the bevel up and make it look uneven. So even though we're getting chips out in one spot, if these are bigger chips, I'd raise the angle to a high angle and then go down, but these are pretty minor chips. So we're just going to try to get them out at 17 degrees. A little more towards the heel. Flip it. And since the existing angle is lower than 17, we're really going to have to make sure we work it all the way up to apex it so we can make sure the chips come out. We still got chips. I can still see them visually. So it's going to take a little bit of work. We might have to go up an angle. Let's keep on doing this for a little bit. I think we're going to go up an angle, actually. So let's just finish off getting this edge at 17. Yeah, those chips are a little bigger than I thought. On this side, they look kind of big. So we still got pretty decent little chip actually. So we're gonna drop this down to like 20 degrees. Just guess, not to be exactly. And we're just gonna work that spot. So the rest of the edge looks good. It's just really is one chip right here. And we're just gonna work that section with at 20 degrees a little bit. Don't know why it works well, but it just does. You're getting chips out when you do it this way, and then drop back down to 17. Works better than just doing the whole thing at 17. It eats less metal, and it just seems to get them out better. Yeah, it's a pretty good chip actually. Just about out. Flip it. Same thing on this side. When you do this, you're going to have a nice burr because you're just sharpening at a high angle. So you're always creating a burr. Put a fingernail down the edge. So a little bit more, but our burr is basically, our chip is basically gone now. Okay. Now we're going to stay on this side actually. We're going to go back up to 17 degrees. Now we're just going to kind of redo what we just did. We have to make sure we're apexing where we used it at a higher angle. So our leading edge is going to take a little bit of work to work back down. So just, we're going to spend some more time getting rid of what we just did. We got a chip back here. We're going to make sure it's still good. Working the whole edge though. Making sure we can blend it in. So it doesn't look like we have a jump in the edge. Got a lot of sharpening dust. So we're going to take some Sharpie on here. Just make sure we're hitting everything. Looks like our leading edge, we still have a little bit of Sharpie on it. So we're going to keep on going until we make sure we can get a burr. Okay, we got a burr throughout the edge. Okay. So I don't know exactly which ones are which, but diamond stones, they usually tell you to use water with them. These are CBN stones, and I've seen no advantage in using water with these. It just makes a mess. I hate using water with stones, honestly. Things slip around. It's hard to keep knives in the clamp without moving when you use water because water drips on them and gets in there and makes it slippery. But some you need to use water on. So refer to the manufacturer's recommendations on your stones, on if you have to soak them, if you have to just sprinkle water on them. On my KME, I used to use honing oil. This is for my KME stones. They work really well. It keeps the gunk and buildup out of the stone. Yeah, for chips like these, I don't really charge any extra. It's not a big deal to get them out. It takes a couple more minutes, but it's about the same price. This is like a $25 edge. Good equipment. Biggest advantage, it takes a hell of a lot less time to get a good edge with good equipment. So my cane meat used to take a lot longer than with these stones. Now we're going to see if we created a burr, which we did. Run our fingernail down the edge, see if we got the chips out. Feels pretty good. We'll do one more pass on both sides though. So diamond is the abrasive. So the difference between diamond and CBN is just what's in here, the particles that are in here. So CBN is cubic boron nitride, I believe, and it's a very hard material. It's not as hard as diamond, but it leaves a different finish. And for me, it sharpens crazy fast. So do diamonds, but these CBN stones are my jam. These make getting a mirror way easier. CBN stones leave a smoother looking finish than diamond stones do. But it's just a different abrasive. Like most brands sell both, and CBN costs more, but it leaves a better finish. We're just doing another pass to make sure, because even when we have chips and our fingernail doesn't feel them, sometimes there's still a little bit of a chip there. So we're just going to do an extra little bit of work so I don't have to reclamp it when we're done. When I test it on paper and find out there's still a little chip. This is just an insurance policy. Last pass. Okay, we're gonna call that good. Jump over to the 400 grit stone. Again, we're not gonna spend much time on these upper stones. Most of the work is done with the 150. These are just polishing and reducing the burr size. All the work is really done with the 150. This is just lining things up and reducing the scratches. That's plenty. Now, final pass, we're going to use 800 real quick. Just reducing the burr. We're not trying to create a burr. We're just trying to straighten out the one that's already there from the 400. Okay, now we're gonna take it out. And let's see what it feels like when we try to cut paper before we strop it. See if we can still feel the chips or anything. Can't feel the chips, but you can definitely feel it's not super sharp. But chips are gone. That's a good thing. So now we're going to take it on a strop. And we're going to clean up the burr. Make it really sharp. So the secret to sharp, the secret to shiny is the strop. Sharpening, you can't strop a dull edge back to life, really. You can maintain a sharp edge by stropping. But if you want to make a really sharp edge off your sharpener, you need a strop with diamond emulsions. You can't just use leather. You need abrasive. Okay, now let's see how this edge feels. Razor blade sharp. That's how much of a difference it makes. So our chips are gone, and we have a sharp as shit edge. Boom. And we're going to call that a day for today. Thank you guys for joining me. We have another 800 grit edge. Clean it up a little bit with chamois cloth. Magic eraser it up. Chamois cloth it clean. And there's our edge. Getting the light right. Anyway, there he goes. So that's it. Thank you all for joining me. Have a wonderful Saturday and see you tonight on FFIB.